We're going to go to the Middle East now, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said today that Israel is determined to secure the return of the remains of all the dead hostages still in Gaza, vowing that the fight is not over yet. Hamas says it needs excavation equipment to try to retrieve some of the remains. An Israeli hostage campaign group wants the Israeli government to delay implementing the next stages of the truce if Hamas fails to return the remaining hostages. Well, I'm joined now on the line from Jerusalem by Noga Tarnopolsky for the latest. Noga, then, the remains of 2 dead hostages were returned overnight. They've now been identified, I think. Can you tell us a little about them?
Yes, Inbar Hyman was a 27-year-old. She was one of the almost 400 people killed at the Nova Desert rave that morning. It has now been revealed by her family that in her day job, she actually worked for the Israeli army. She was a career officer, but this was kept very closely hidden until her fate became known. The other person retrieved is Mohammed al-Atrash. He was a 39-year-old captain in the Israeli army. He is a case of a family who was really decimated by the Hamas attack. It's a large family in southern Israel. He, as I said, was in the army, but 4 of his relatives were taken hostage, working in different places that early morning, and 1 more was murdered on the spot. So 2 particular cases, and 19 bodies left, of which 16 are Israeli citizens and 3 are foreign citizens, 1 Tanzanian and 2 Thai citizens who also got caught up in the Hamas attack on the 3rd. The matter of getting the dead hostages back is becoming a real hot potato here in Israel.
You say then 19 hostages still to be returned, and the defence minister is now talking about resuming fighting. How likely is that? And also maybe you could update us on the Rafah crossing with Egypt. When is that likely to reopen?
Well, the latest we've heard from the Israeli army is that the Rafah crossing is likely to reopen tomorrow. They've told us that preparations are underway for this, but it would be only for humans, for people to cross over from Egypt, especially for Gazans who left Gaza who want to return, but for also, I believe, in the other direction. Not necessarily for aid, is what I'm trying to say. That's my understanding from what the Israeli army is saying, is that Rafah may open for human movement. And it could be as early as tomorrow. But it is an issue because Israel expected Hamas to release about 20 or even 22 of the 28 bodies of hostages who did not survive captivity by the Monday deadline. And today we're on Thursday, and out of those 28 bodies, only 9 are back. Hamas is saying contradictory things. One of them, as you said, is that it needs heavy equipment, and others that it simply doesn't know where they are. There is some kind of a mechanism that could be in place to support Hamas if they're searching for these bodies, but it doesn't exist yet. This is a very rapidly put together deal. And in Israel, you have contradictory voices. You do have, as you said, the defense minister, Israel Katz, and a legislator very, very close to the prime minister, Aryeh Deri, pushing very hard for Israel to simply declare this agreement null and void and return to full-on war. But it doesn't feel like that is a real possibility in the way that it did even 2 weeks ago, because the U.S. administration appears to have really put its foot down and decided that no matter what the stumbling blocks, this war is over. And you do see in the domestic Israeli scene, Prime Minister Netanyahu trying to scramble to muddle that fact, that he no longer has the ability to simply say we're returning to war and send in the soldiers like he did until fairly recently.
I want to just move on in a minute to talk about these summary executions in Gaza. But just before I do, just to clarify, so I read, I think, that Israel said that it wasn't part of the deal that humanitarian aid would go through Rafah, but that it would go through the crossings bordering Israel. Is that what they're saying on that question of aid coming through the Rafah crossing?
Like most of the issues relating to this deal, it remains unclear. And for example, also to do with Hamas disarmament, if you read what we know of this deal, the details are very, very vague. And it doesn't seem certain that the American written proposal, that this deal enacted by the United States actually will oblige Hamas to vanish from the scene in Gaza, as Prime Minister Netanyahu has promised it. And regarding Rafah, to me, I have to say it is also clear. I think we're encountering some intentional ambiguity on the part of the United States and of Israel. And we're going to simply have to wait and see. Are the trucks crossing through Egypt starting tomorrow? Will it open tomorrow? All of these questions, I think we're going to just have to wait for proof on the ground.
Just quickly on that question of Gaza, then Hamas releasing these videos of summary executions of people, it says, collaborated with Israel, and local people, including children, being asked to or invited to watch that. This is a bid to display power, to show it's still in charge. What is Israel? What is the view in Israel on that? It's no longer Israel's problem, but what is the view?
No, Israel's viewing this with great concern for two reasons. One, simply that it appears that something close to a massacre is underway in Gaza. Hamas calls this settling accounts with political rivals, but in fact, you also see mothers and children getting killed. We're seeing all kinds of violence, as you said, publicized by Hamas, and in Israel's viewed in great concern because it shows Hamas regaining power, reconsolidating power, much before the international forces have organized any body that could take their place in Gaza. And also because, again, it puts the lie to Prime Minister Netanyahu's promise that he was going to completely and totally destroy Hamas, that he would not allow Hamas to pose a threat. Hamas, in fact, has been mostly militarily destroyed and does not pose a serious military threat to Israel today. But one of the reasons that Hamas is publicizing these videos is to persuade Israelis that they still do constitute a threat, and Israelis are afraid.